We're about to venture into treacherous territory, my friends. The subject we're tackling today is not for the faint of heart, but it's crucial for anyone who wants to navigate the perilous waters of human relationships successfully. We're going to dissect the psychology of malignant narcissists, those charismatic, destructive individuals who leave a trail of emotional carnage in their wake. Now, let's be clear from the outset. We're not talking about your garden variety egotist here. We all have narcissistic tendencies to some degree. A healthy dose of self-esteem is necessary for survival and success in this world. No, what we're focusing on is the extreme end of the spectrum, the malignant narcissist, a term coined by the psychoanalyst Erich Fromm to describe individuals who combine narcissistic personality traits with elements of sadism, paranoia, and antisocial behavior. These people are the predators of the human world. They're the wolves in sheep's clothing, the serpents in the garden. And make no mistake, they are dangerous. Not necessarily in a physical sense, although that can certainly be the case, but in their ability to manipulate, exploit, and destroy the psychological well-being of those around them.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
So why is it so important to understand these individuals? Because they're far more common than you might think. Studies suggest that narcissistic personality disorder affects up to 6% of the population, and that's just the clinical diagnosis. The number of people with significant narcissistic traits is likely much higher. These are people you might encounter in your workplace, in your social circles, even in your own family. The first step in protecting yourself is understanding what you're dealing with. Malignant narcissists are not just people with an inflated sense of self-importance. They're individuals who have constructed their entire personality around a grandiose, false self. This false self serves as a shield, protecting them from the deep-seated feelings of inadequacy and emptiness that lie at their core. This is crucial to understand. Beneath the arrogance, the entitlement, the lack of empathy, there's a profound vulnerability. Malignant narcissists are, in essence, deeply wounded individuals, but their wound is so deep, so all-encompassing, that they've lost touch with their true self. They've become the mask they wear to protect themselves from the world. But here's the rub. This false self requires constant maintenance. It's like a balloon that needs to be constantly inflated or it will collapse. And the fuel that inflates this balloon, narcissistic supply. This can take many forms: admiration, attention, even fear or anger. Anything that reinforces their grandiose self-image or gives them a sense of power over others. This relentless need for narcissistic supply drives much of the malignant narcissist's behavior. They're constantly on the lookout for sources of supply, and they're incredibly skilled at manipulating people and situations to get what they need. They'll charm, they'll flatter, they'll make grand promises, whatever it takes to draw people in. But once they've hooked someone, the dynamic changes. The initial idealization gives way to devaluation. The narcissist begins to tear down the very person they once put on a pedestal. Why? Because ultimately, they need to prove their superiority. They need to reinforce their belief that they're special, unique, above the common lot of humanity. This cycle of idealization and devaluation is one of the hallmarks of malignant narcissism, and it's incredibly destructive to those caught in its orbit. Imagine being told you're amazing, special, the best thing that's ever happened to someone, and then, often without warning, being treated as if you're worthless, stupid, beneath contempt. This emotional whiplash can leave victims confused, hurt, and doubting their own perceptions of reality. And that's exactly what the narcissist wants. Because a person who's unsure of themselves, who's questioning their own worth and their own grasp on reality, is much easier to control and manipulate. This brings us to one of the narcissist's most potent weapons, gaslighting. This term comes from a 1938 stage play called Gaslight, in which a husband manipulates his wife into believing she's going insane. In the context of narcissistic abuse, gaslighting refers to the narcissist's attempts to distort their victim's sense of reality. They'll deny saying things you clearly remember them saying. They'll rewrite history to cast themselves in a better light. They'll insist that you're overreacting, that you're too sensitive, that you're imagining things. Over time, this constant undermining of your perceptions can leave you doubting your own sanity. Now you might be wondering, how do these people come to be this way? What creates a malignant narcissist? The truth is, there's no simple answer. Like most psychological phenomena, it's likely a complex interplay of genetic predisposition and environmental factors. Many psychologists believe that narcissistic personality disorder often has its roots in childhood trauma or neglect. Perhaps there was a parent who was either overly critical or overly indulgent. Maybe there was abuse or abandonment, or simply a failure to provide the kind of consistent, empathetic mirroring that a child needs to develop a healthy sense of self. In response to this early wounding, the child develops narcissistic traits as a defense mechanism. The grandiose false self becomes a shield, protecting them from feelings of vulnerability or inadequacy. The lack of empathy serves as a barrier, preventing them from forming the kind of deep emotional connections that could potentially hurt them. But here's the tragic irony. In trying to protect themselves from pain, they cut themselves off from the very things that could heal them: genuine connection, empathy, love. They become trapped in a prison of their own making, forever chasing the next hit of narcissistic supply, never able to find true satisfaction or peace. Understanding this can help us approach narcissists with a degree of compassion. But, and this is crucial, compassion does not mean allowing yourself to be abused or manipulated. You can recognize that a narcissist is a wounded individual without making yourself responsible for their healing. In fact, one of the most important things to understand about malignant narcissists is that you cannot fix them. You cannot love them enough, praise them enough, or sacrifice enough of yourself to fill the bottomless pit of their need. Attempts to do so will only leave you depleted and traumatized. So what can you do if you find yourself dealing with a malignant narcissist? The first step is recognition. Learn to spot the signs, watch for the grandiosity, the lack of empathy, the manipulation tactics. Pay attention to how you feel around this person. Do you often feel confused, anxious, or as if you're walking on eggshells? These can be signs that you're dealing with a narcissist. Once you've recognized what you're dealing with, the next step is to establish firm boundaries. This is often incredibly difficult for people who've been caught in a narcissist's web, because narcissists are experts at boundary violation. They'll push and push, using charm, guilt, or aggression to get their way. But boundaries are your lifeline when dealing with a narcissist. You need to be clear about what you will and won't accept, and you need to be prepared to enforce those boundaries consistently. This might mean limiting contact, refusing to engage in certain topics of conversation, or even cutting ties completely if the situation is severe enough. Remember, You are not responsible for managing a narcissist's emotions or meeting their insatiable need for supply. Your primary responsibility is to protect your own mental and emotional well-being. Another crucial strategy is to work on building your own self-esteem and sense of reality. Narcissistic abuse can leave you doubting yourself, questioning your own perceptions and worth. It's vital to reconnect with your own truth, to reaffirm your own values and boundaries. This might involve therapy, journaling, or simply spending time with people who see and appreciate your true self. The goal is to strengthen your own sense of identity so that you're less vulnerable to the narcissist's attempts at manipulation and gaslighting. It's also important to educate yourself about narcissistic tactics. Learn about love bombing, gaslighting, projection, and other manipulation strategies that narcissists commonly use. The more you understand about how they operate, the better equipped you'll be to recognize and resist their tactics. Now, I want to be clear. Dealing with a malignant narcissist is not easy. It can be one of the most challenging experiences of your life, but it can also be an opportunity for profound growth and self-discovery. Many people who've survived narcissistic abuse report that the experience, painful as it was, ultimately led them to a deeper understanding of themselves and their own strength. In the next part, we'll delve deeper into the inner world of the malignant narcissist. We'll explore the cognitive distortions that drive their behavior, and we'll look at how their worldview differs from that of psychologically healthy individuals. We'll also discuss the impact of narcissistic abuse on victims and strategies for healing from this particularly insidious form of trauma. But for now, I want you to reflect on your own experiences. Have you encountered individuals who display these narcissistic traits? How did they make you feel? And most importantly, how did you respond? Did you stand firm in your own truth, or did you find yourself bending and twisting to accommodate their distorted reality? These are not easy questions to grapple with, but they're essential if we want to navigate the complex terrain of human relationships with wisdom and integrity. Because the truth is, we will all encounter malignant narcissists at some point in our lives. The question is, will we recognize them for what they are, and will we have the strength and the knowledge to protect ourselves from their toxic influence? Remember, the goal isn't to become cynical or distrustful of all human connections. It's to develop the discernment to recognize genuine, healthy relationships and to have the courage to walk away from those that are destructive. It's to cultivate a strong enough sense of self that you can't be swayed by the narcissist's manipulations.